Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Don't stand up so early. Sit down. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class from Canto 1, Chapter 19, texts 14 and 15. So without any further ado, we'll start the class now. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nitai Gora Chandra, Nitai Gora Chandra, Gora Hari Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora, Haribo. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Pribhajikacharya Stotra Sati Shishimara Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Pribhajikacharya Stotra Sati Shishimara His Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय इसका फाउंडर चार्ज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय सामवेद भक्तविंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Lord feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Prabhupada Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimadi Bhakti Tera Swami Nityananda. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Chittapani Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tera Nityananda. Narayana Namaskritya Narochaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gudirayat Nashya Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sivaya Bhagavato Tamastoke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, Appearance of Shukadeva Goswami, in Text 14. Tasheva Megasha Para Varesho Vyashakta Chitasya Grihesha Viksham Ivedamulo Dvijasha Parupo Yatra Pashakto Bhayam Asudatte Tasheva Megasya Param Varesho Yashakta Chitasya Grihesha Viksham Nirvedamulo Dvijasha Parupo Yatra Pashakto Bhayam Ashudaste Tashiva Megasya Paravaresho Yashakta Chitasya Grihesha Vikshnam Nirvedamulo Dvijasha Parupo Yatra Pashakto Bhayam Asudaste. Hare Krishna. Please stand if you so feel inclined.
तस्यैव मेघस्य परावरेशो व्यसक्तचित्तस्य ग्रहेष्व अभीक्षणम् निर्मेदमूलो द्विषापरूपो यत्र प्रसक्तो भयमाशु धत्ते. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
तस्यैव मेघस्य पारवैरेशो व्यक्सक्तचित्तस्य गृहस्वभीक्षणम् निर्विदामूलोद्वैजसापरूपो यत्र प्रक्षतो भयनस्तु दत्ते असुदते. Sorry.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay. Word for word. Tasya is. Eva, certainly. Me, mine. Aghasya, of the sinful. Para, transcendental. Avara, mundane. Isha, controller, the Supreme Lord. Vyashakta, overly attached. Chetasya, of the mind. Viheshu, to family affairs. Avikshnam, always. Viveda, mula, the source of detachment. Dvijashapa, cursing by the Brahmana. Rupa, form of. Yatra, whereupon. Vashaktaha, one who is affected. Bhayam, fearfulness. Ashu, very soon. Daste, take place. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Supreme Personality of Godhead, controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds, has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. Due to my being too much attached to family life, the Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Pariksit, although born in a family of great devotees, the Pandavas, and although securely trained in transcendental attachment for the association of the Lord, still found the allurement of mundane family life so strong that he had to be detached by a plan of the Lord. Such direct action is taken by the Lord in the case of a special devotee. Maharaj Pariksit could understand this by the presence of the topmost transcendentalists in the universe. The Lord resides with his devotees, and therefore the presence of the great saints indicated the presence of the Lord. The king therefore welcomed the presence of the great rishis as a mark of favor of the Supreme Lord. Text 15. Tamopayatam pratiyantu vipra Ganga Devi Dreta Chittam Ishe Dvijopashrishta Kuhakastak Taksha Kova Dasa Twalam Gayata Vishnu Gatta. Word for word translation. Tam, for that reason. Ma, me. Upayatam, taking shelter of. Prajiyantu, just accept me. Vipra, O Brahmanas. Ganga, Mother Ganges. Cha, also. Devi, direct representative of the Lord. Drita, taken into. Chittam, heart. Ishe, unto the Lord. Dvija Upashrishta, created by the Brahmana. Guhaka, something magical. Dakshaka, the snake bird. Va, either. Dashatu, let it bite. Alam, without further delay. Gayata, please go on singing. Vishnu Gatha, narration of the deeds of Vishnu. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way, for I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird or whatever magical thing the Brahmana created bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. Report by Srila Prabhupada. As soon as one is given up completely unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he is not at all afraid of death. The atmosphere created by the presence of the great devotees of the Lord on the bank of the Ganges and Maharaj Pariksit's complete acceptance of the Lord's lotus feet were sufficient guarantee to the king for going back to Godhead. He thus became absolutely free from all fear of death. Om Agnati Mirandasya, Yana Ganashalakaya, Chakshum Militam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So the translation for text number 14 is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds, has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. Due to my being too much attached to family life, the Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world. Now, text 15, English translation. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird or whatever magical thing the Brahman has created bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of I only desire that you can all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. Hare Krishna. So these are the words of Maharaj Pariksit, and let me just stop sharing here. Bring everybody up. I don't know why I can't pin. This should pin. Okay, good. Hare Krishna. Sorry, I'm not the greatest in technology. So this is Maharaj Pariksit speaking. And in text 14 that you all heard, he said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds. Now, this is just part of the sentence, but it's a very, very, that in itself is an important reminder of what pure devotees do when they talk about Krishna, or they ask something of Krishna when they pray to Krishna, or just informing something about Krishna. They never say Krishna has done this, Krishna. Always when they mention the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will say something that is particular to the Lord. And they say something is in direct praise or indirect praise of the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. He could have said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. But the point we want to make here is, he said the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then something about him that is important. Controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds. So he is controller of both the spiritual and the material. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, everything emanates from me. And he says, the wise who know this, they have taken to serving me from the bottom of their hearts. They give their hearts totally to me in service. So Maharaj Pariksit is aware of that. So he knows Krishna said that, and therefore he says, controller of both transcendental and mundane worlds. At this time, the Bhagavad Gita had already been spoken by Krishna in the battlefield. Maharaj Pariksit, his father, Abhimanyu, died there, and Uttara was already pregnant at the time. And Maharaj Pariksit was almost, taken out by Ashwatthama, but the Lord saved them. So this was well, after the Battle of Kurukshetra, well after the Bhagavad Gita had been spoken. So Krishna had already declared in the Bhagavad Gita the opulence of the Absolute, the knowledge of the Absolute, chapter 7, chapter 10, they all talk about Krishna's statements. He is the controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds. Who better to take shelter of than Krishna? For us, it should be an instruction to our minds. Who better to surrender to than the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He is the controller of everything that exists, and everyone came from him. So if you take shelter in him, then you have taken shelter. That's the smartest thing to do, the most intelligent thing to do. He has graciously, and now he says, Maharaj Pariksit, he has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. He's directed me in front of me, to come in front of me to direct me through the curse of the Brahmana. And then he explains, I was too attached to family life. So in order to pull me back to Godhead, Krishna has appeared before me through the Brahmana's curse so that I would be fearful. And through the fear, I would detach myself from the world. So that was the statement that Maharaj Pariksit was making. So the underlying thing about this is that Krishna sometimes favors his devotees by arranging for a particular plan to occur that the devotee didn't know was coming. Maharaj Pariksit is not one to get so easily upset over not getting water when he was thirsty from a Brahmana who is in meditation. Normally, he would have just walked away from Shamakarishis and then gone on and returned probably to the capital, had water later on. Not having water for a little while is not going to kill him. He knew that. But the Lord, as he's explaining, one thing is planned to take place, and Maharaj Pariksit being totally submitted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna helped him by planning this whole situation to unfold so that he could go home. When the Lord plans situations in our lives so that we can go home, he's also giving us such a wonderful favor. And he already has done it. He's asked us to surrender to him. Lord Chaitanya has asked us to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So we are going through the process by which we can get back to Godhead. And it is also important to remind myself and all of us that this Kali Yuga that we're in is not going to get any better. We're not trying to scare anybody. We're just talking about what's fact. Kali Yuga, a religion becomes more and more and more prominent to the point it will be later on so bad that people won't even be able to live in any kind of peace. They would retire from the cities and the countries and go into the forest and be out, but just living incognito. At least by the government's plans, they will not be able to find them. They won't be able to tax them. Things will be just too much. So it doesn't make sense that we know what's happening or what is about to happen to waste too much time staying here in the material world. We have the opportunity to go back to Godhead, as Maharaj Pariksit has been given the opportunity to go back to Godhead. He has wealth beyond what we can even dream of, but he left all of it. He had a nice family, he had sons, he left all of it. And as soon as he realized that for the mistake that he did, even though it was an overreaction on the part of the Brahmana's son, he had been cursed, he left the administration, he left the rulership. He arranged for that to be taken care of by his sons. And he went and sat next to the Ganges, the banks of the Ganges, to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was attached to family life, he said. He says, by being too much attached to family life. So we have to watch our family life too. How much attachment? There's responsibility, true enough, but the responsibility should not check our service to the Lord, service to Guru, and service to the devotees. If we have material responsibilities to the point that we can't do our spiritual activities, even the basic ones, hearing and chanting, then family life is getting in the way of our opportunity to go back to Godhead. So we have to make an adjustment then. We are in the material world, and many of us are in families where not sannyasis or brahmacharis who have dedicated their lives fully to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Grihastha life and in Vanaprastha life, there is family and there is husband and wife. So will be there. Some things will be taken care of in family life, but it should never be such that our transcendental or spiritual activities are affected. When that is the case, then we are not preparing to go back to Godhead. At least mentally, we don't see it that way. It is not a good idea to think about, well, when I come back next life. When you come back next life, yes, anyone can come back next life. But what kind of body are you going to get? What kind of situation are you going to be in? If you're comfortable with the situation you have now, there's no comfort. It's just if it's a little more convenient than others in the situation. In this country as a whole, life is a little more convenient as a whole. Not to say that crime is not here. That's everywhere. That's Kali Yuga. But that may cause some of us to begin to think that, oh, it's all right. We can tolerate. But what's next life? Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? It may be better, it may be worse. There are people living now in worse situations than we are. Who's to say that we won't be put in that situation? We don't have control over those things. That's the point we're making. And when you see people, let me tell one story about my spiritual master. He was riding with me. I was driving. He was going to a program. This is Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He was going to the studios of a radio station, and he was going to be interviewed there. And so he was going to that program, and I was the one driving him. So he began to talk about his family a little bit, and he doesn't really talk much about it, so much, not too many people. This isn't something that's confidential, so I don't mind talking about it. He talked about his father. And he said one thing that was a little unusual that his father used to do was that in the weekends, he worked during the weekdays and in the weekends, apart from other things that he does, he makes it a point to go to hospitals. How many people do that? People go, usually hospitals are a place for those who work there and those who are sick. But he wasn't. He would go to the hospitals and he would go to the wards, the places where people who have been admitted to the hospital are. That's where he would go. And just simply Look at him. Go from one room to another room, from one room to another room. And when he told me that, I didn't understand. I didn't understand him, and I didn't understand why my spiritual master told me this. But he said, yeah, it was quite unusual. One time he took him. Hmm? He went with his father. That's how he knows he was doing that. His father was doing that. Now, whatever the reason that his father was doing that, one thing is clear: sickness is terrible. And once you have a physical body, that's what's going to happen. The soul never gets sick, but the body will get sick at some point. And sickness causes a lot of pain and inconvenience. So that alone should be reason for one who knows about crystal consciousness not to return to this place. Because as soon as you get born, you're going to be sick again. Hmm? Why take that? Pain. Hmm? There will be fear. Because in Kali Yuga, we're criminals. You have to take measures for defending yourself. You have to take measures to try to prevent sickness, but it comes anyway. Some more sick than others. So he, my Guru Maharaj's father, he used to look at these patients. I was admitted when I was a little boy, and I was extremely admitted in the hospital, just from injury, hurt myself. And um, it was quite serious. So the hospital made the decision to admit me and treat the injuries. But mine was not like I wasn't really sick, just hurt physical body. There was some burning. I was actually got burned in my back, which is all gone now. But at the time I was admitted, I had to be, it's an open place. This was an open ward, not like, United States where one or two people in the room. This is like 20 people, one large room, everybody with their bed. And so I saw the others. And I got depressed. I didn't even know what depression was. I was just getting more and more sick. Now the body was getting sick, not just the injury. That was just being treated. They put bandages on it and all of that. So I wasn't feeling much pain. But the problem was I was just hearing people moaning in pain through the night to the next day. And I'm like 6 years old, and I'll be there, and I'm hearing all of this. And I could understand they were in pain. And it disturbed me very much because, for one, I couldn't sleep. The light sleeper there, I couldn't sleep through it. The place was strange. People were moaning, and here I am lying in there. And my mother told me later on that they all saw that my condition was getting worse and worse and worse. They asked the hospital to release me. They said, no, we have to check for the injury to go down a little bit more. And then we'll have him go. But every time my mother and father came to visit me, I would cry and cry. And there's only one statement I was making: please take me home. Please take me home. Please take me home. And every night, I couldn't even tell them that I wasn't sleeping. I was just hearing all the moaning. It was disturbing me very much. Anyway, so the point to me, finally, they got me out. They actually, literally, my mother told me later on, came up with an excuse that the hospital could not finding any could not say no to. And that's how I got released. And went home so happy. I was running around again, playing like the little boy that I was at that time. So sickness is trouble. That alone should be reason for us not to come back. So my Pariksit says, okay, I've got too attached to material things, and now I'm being released by the Lord's plan. The Lord has overtaken me. So this is a reversal. It's a situation where he's going to die, and look at the way he's looking at it. He's looking at it from that the Lord has blessed me by taking me away from too much material attachment. That is his plan. And he's done it in such a way that I would get myself from it out of fear. detach myself from the world. So this is, see, Prabhupada says in the purport that Lord plans this sometimes. In the case of special cases, he would do that. Now, the other point was that the pure devotees carry the Lord in their hearts. So many high-level devotees came where Maharaj Pariksit was. So that was an indication that the Lord was there. In Satya Yuga, especially, in the Golden Age, it's like that. People worshipped godly men. That was the way of worship, godly men. And the regular Yuga Dham, the way people was also to meditate. And they would meditate. People were living 100,000 years at the time. And some would meditate, the pure devotees, for a good 60,000 of those 100,000 years. But they were worshipped by the regular people. So they carried the Lord in their heart. And Srila Prabhupada is making the point here. There aren't many demigods, saints, and other Raja Rishis, and other high-level people were coming. They were all gathering. They gathered next to where Maharaj Pariksit was in the bank of the Ganga. Therefore, that indicates the presence of the Lord. So, great rishis coming meant that the Lord had favored Maharaj Pariksit. So, when there's a reversal, he was about to die, and he also had said that this situation that I caused, whatever that's supposed to come get me, snake bird or whatever, let him even just come after me at once and let's just take care of the situation. So when a person sometimes gets punished by the laws of nature, Srila Prabhupada explains, it's by the will of God, he should not be disturbed. The real devotee thinks in this way. When the devotee is in an awkward position, he takes it as the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And for that, Lord Brahma was praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he prayed this way, Tatenu kampa susamikshamano punyata evatma kritam vipakam evat vapube budadan namaste tiveta yo mukti pade sa dayabak. So he was explaining that, my dear Lord, you've put me in a situation where I am going through some reversal, but that has to do with things that I have done in the past. And you're giving me a slight, I'm just paraphrasing the meaning of this, a slight disturbance. So I will still go on and serve enthusiastically. And one who does that, that person has already been liberated because it is their rightful claim. And Lord Brahma doesn't make any mistakes like that. That's why our Sampradaya is Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we should look at it that way. That does not mean that situations happen in every situation that's faulty. Just stand and take it. No, we're not saying that. We have to use our intelligence in situations that happen. But there will be some that we have no control over. And that we should look at as the mercy of the Lord coming in a certain way, slight, something slight, a slight reprisal, admonishment, punishment for what we've done in the past, or past lives, or just the life that we're in earlier. We've done some things that Krishna wants to free us from. So then he's slapping our wrist, so to speak. Now, sometimes the devotees go through some difficulties that they find difficult to get away from. That we're talking about addiction. Some things we know that they're the wrong things. They are not in line with the injunctions of the scriptures. But we're so used to doing this bad thing, bad according to the scriptures. Sense gratification is something that we should stay away from and can't. Because we tried, and we're not able to overcome it. Now, when a devotee is in a situation of addiction like that, there's some things that they can do. But one of the things is this addiction is causing repeated offenses. So one has to pray sincerely out of desperation, seeking help. We should offer sincere prayers of desperation, seeking help from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we do that through our Guru. If you're initiated, you go through your Guru, in front of your Guru, and plead and cry. Govinda Maharaj says we should cry to the Lord. Cry to the Lord. We have an opportunity to go home, and our addiction is stopping that opportunity. We should cry to the Lord. So we stand in front of our Guru's picture. If our Guru is there, Guru's picture, or if the Guru is not there, Guru's picture, and the picture of Nitai Gora, Gaura Nitai, the Lord in his most merciful form, and pray. Now, the Lord will act. If we pray repeatedly, he will act to help us. Now, the helping method may involve something unusual or something we didn't think that the Lord will do in that way. But you will realize that it is, in fact, an effective way for dealing with that addiction problem. And whatever that the Lord plans, even if it involves some pain, we should accept it as a blessing from Krishna. We're talking about addiction here. It's not the easiest thing at all to get away from it. And when the addiction is one that's going to stop us, especially if it's like against regulated principles or this apparat like that, and we're just used to doing that. Krishna will help us out of it if we pray sincerely and repeatedly, not just one time, repeatedly. Remember, Advaita Acharya got Lord Chaitanya to come, not by praying one time. Advaita Acharya took Ganges water and tulasi leaves and prayed repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, requested the Lord to come to deal with the negativity that was happening on the earth at the time. So it is important to keep at it. Do your persistent desperation prayers for help. And that addiction will be dealt with. There's nothing the Lord can't do. But when the Lord has to see that we're really sincere and trying to get away from that addiction, then he will help us out of that situation. So in the next text, text 15, Maharaj Pariksit is making a very smart appeal. He says, "O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul. Accept me as a completely surrendered soul." That's what Krishna wants us to be. We should surrender to the Lord, depend on the Lord. And Maharaj Pariksit had already said in the text before that the Lord is controller of everything material and spiritual. So a completely surrendered soul will be taken care of wonderfully by the Lord. So please accept me, he's telling the Brahmanas, and let Mother Ganges, which is right at the banks of, also accept me in the same way. And he says, the reason is that I've taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. That is something we should do. And the way to do that is explained by Srila Rupa Goswami. In our lives, and this is for our own, for my purification and everyone also. In our lives, for everything that we do, Question it. Does this help for me to serve devotionally? Yes, then do it. If this is not helping me to serve devotionally, and it's against devotion service, stop it. Don't do it. So we should always be taking stock like that and questioning our activities. Now, the final statement that Maharaj Pariksit makes to those assembled, he said, I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. Such an important statement. He is about to leave the body. In 7 days, he was going to leave the body. And he's asking those gathered, please continue to sing the deeds of Lord Vishnu, Krishna. Let me hear about things about the Lord. Very important. He wants to remember the Lord. He wants to connect with the pastimes of the Lord. Maharaj Pariksit wants to do that. And therefore, we should also take that into consideration in our own lives. We should always want to hear the pastimes of Lord Krishna and the pastimes, how he relates to his devotees. They are wonderful and they are very pleasing to the ear of a devotee of the Lord. Only non-devotees don't want to hear pastimes. Only non-devotees don't want to hear instructions that make their lives better. Only demonic people stay away from that. But we should continue to hear the deeds of Lord Vishnu. So, Srila Prabhupada says, as one is a pure devotee and they know that death is coming, if they surrender to the Supreme Lord as Maharaj Pariksit has done, then that person is not afraid of death. Why? Because they see death as Krishna coming to take me home. If you're in a place of suffering and your parent, one of the parents comes and says, I'm going to take you out of this place. I've come to take you to a place where you won't suffer anymore. Are you going to say, no, I don't want to go. I just want to be here and keep suffering? Needless to say, of course, not only would you say yes, you'd be happy. You'd be happy to go. And so this is the way we should look at death, Krishna coming to take us back. But Krishna will take us back when we are connected, when we are surrendered to him. So that's for us to do, to stay connected by association of devotees all of the time, by dealing straight. This is letter of instructions, advice, being straight in our dealings, being firmly convinced. There should be firm conviction about bhakti being the source of our happiness, being the source, nothing better to do in this world but involve ourselves in bhakti, in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, like that, we should be very firmly convicted, we should be convinced, we should be very, 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 very enthusiastic, and we also should be patient. And if we do that, then success in our devotional life is practically guaranteed. So Maharaj Pariksit completely accepted the Lord's lotus feet. And that was possible because he was from a line of the Pandavas who were pure devotees themselves. And he definitely took even his material work as a mode of goodness seriously. He was very protective of those who were doing the right thing, and he punished those who were doing the wrong thing. And when the time came for him to leave, he was going to just hear about the Lord and request those who were there also to sing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. So this is how we should be. We should pray and aspire to be that kind of person that Maharaj Pariksit was, a completely surrendered soul, taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hmm? Now, the presence of a sage has made the atmosphere very, very, very sacred. But the Lord, Maharaj Pariksit was still asking them to sing the glories of Lord Vishnu. That would create an atmosphere which all present will be in the thoughts of the Supreme Lord, and that creates a favorable atmosphere for leaving the body. We should have good relations with devotees. Sometimes some challenges come, but be outside of the challenges and see it with your intelligence. This is Maya trying to creep in. What should I do to be on the side of Krishna, light, not on the side of darkness, Maya? Because Maya will always test everyone, especially those who are doing well in service. They'll get the test first, and usually a more severe test. Sometimes, too, the tests come because it's for purification. Krishna is happy with how we're serving, and he wants to get us to go even higher in our purification. In other words, just be better and better devotees. And so in order to clear faults that we have, the faults have to come out. Then we see for what it is and we deal with it. In order to sweep a broom, you take a broom and you start sweeping, but the room doesn't become clean right away. The dirt first comes out. See, all the dirt that sometimes you didn't even know it was there. The broom just simply brings them all out. And then you gather and you take them away. So at the time the dirt is out, that's how we should see it. The dirt is out and it needs to be cleaned. We don't sit and watch and say, but why is this so dirty here? No. You keep taking the broom and directing where it should be, gathering together and throwing it out. Then the place becomes clean. This is how we get purified. So the faults will be shown. Those who are doing well, Krishna gives the mercy by bringing out their falsehood. Now they're not only serving, but they are better devotees, and their service will even be better after the dirt's been cleared. That happens everywhere with people who are sincere, but have faults. And we all have faults because we are conditioned so there's, higher nature and lower nature. And the lower nature will be cleared. That is also the mercy of God. So that's the way we should see things and not be afraid or not be so too concerned, but have our minds in the right place, and that is how to deal with issues that are challenging so that everybody is back on the right path, serving with a much better state of mind. So Maharaj Pariksit is leaving, and he's done a couple of things, requesting that the sages who are there sing the glory so that the atmosphere will be favorable for him leaving. And he's also seen this reversal about what he's done, and even though there's overreaction on the part of the Brahman, he sees it as, the Brahmana's son, he sees it as a situation where the Lord is, gone ahead of him to arrange for him to detach himself from family things. Family material things, and bring him back home. So there's so much to learn from this. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So now, please unmute yourself if you have comments that you want to make or questions you want to ask, or takeaways that you've gotten from this. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Anyone wants to start? Yes, dear Krishna Prabhu, I see you raised your hand. Hare Krishna. Accept my humble
Hare Krishna
obeisances.
Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All grace to Srila Prabhu. Thank you for such wonderful points, Prabhu, this morning in the class.
Mercy.
Especially, I like that point, Prabhu, that how we should question whether our activities are, as per Krishna consciousness philosophy or as for Krishna or not, right? So my question, Prabhu, is, so if I question myself, if I analyze the question and answer only within me, I might not be the right person to get the answers to my own questions. So who should we ask those questions to? Who's the right person?
Who is the right person to ask questions to help us improve Very important. That has already been answered in the Nectar of Instruction. The 6 exchanges of love, opening up. One of them is opening up and sharing confidentially things that's there, and also receiving confidential answers to our situation. One of the things that we can do in terms of who to go to, one, our spiritual master. We should be very, very much open to talking to our spiritual master. And sometimes just bring the fearful part, put it out, bring it out and put that aside. Sometimes people are saying, but if I say to my spiritual master, such and such and such is happening, he might chastise me. He'll find out that this is my lower nature and it's so embarrassing, and he might chastise me and not think that I'm even a good devotee. If we think that way, unfortunately, I have to use a strong word for that. That's childish thinking. In other words, we don't understand who a spiritual master is. A spiritual master is representative of Krishna, a representative of Krishna that has made a contract with the spiritual world that he would guide the disciple back to the spiritual world. The spiritual master's responsibility is to guide the disciple back to the spiritual world. Shouldn't he be the one be here? Things that we need to clean up in order that we can go to the spiritual world? He's on contract with the spiritual world to help us. Therefore, if we want to make his job easier, we should tell him so that he can help us clean up the dirt that we have so we can go back to the spiritual world. Now, still some people may feel, oh boy, but if I said that I did this and I did that, I did that. So in my own case, it wasn't difficult for me to tell back to Bhakti Maharaj because I knew that he had the, subtle, the cities, one of the cities that he could read minds. So it's like, he already knows. Srila Prabhupada had missed that city also. His disciples have said it. He knew my mind. So why you hide it anyway? There's no point. Now, after all of this, if still there are people having issues with telling the spiritual master directly, go to his picture, offer obeisances to his picture, and speak to the picture of the Guru. If you're not initiated, speak to the picture of Srila Prabhupada or the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. They are not just things. The potency is there, so they're going to hear. They'll hear anyway. Now, if you have someone that's fixed up devotee, advanced, and you can speak to them, yeah, you can open up to that person and have the relation there and have them help you. The spiritual master is in a unique position because he's the one that's guiding us back to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada is the founder of this whole society. And he's made it possible for us not to chant 64 rounds in order to qualify to go back, but even 16 rounds, 1/4 of it. He's already given us so much mercy. And if you read his Lilamrita, you see even so much more mercy that's there. And you have things in better perspective of how he does things and how he worked his devotees to want to come up with wonderful, wonderful, wonderful achievements to the Supreme Personality of Godhead with his guidance. So one of the person that you can reveal your lower nature or my lower nature, I should reveal. I almost went to a spiritual master. Later on, I had 2 more devotees, one Mataji and then one Prabhuji that I could open up to and still do. And also a Shiksha Guru that I open up to. But if all else, if no other alternative is there, have the picture of a spiritual master and speak to him because the answers would come. But if the spiritual master is still living in this physical body, then you should tell him. Tell him. Don't be afraid to tell him. You will get some chastisement, but you will definitely get advice. And sometimes you won't get any chastisement at all. You just get advice. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is there anyone else that likes to unmute themselves and ask questions, have a takeaway, or share a realization connected with this? Anyone? You can unmute
Hare
yourself.
Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, O Grace
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Jai.
I was reading the verse again, yeah, 2-3 times, the verse 14 and 15, and especially verse 14, where Prabhupada said that, where is it? It's just powerful. Where Maharaj Pariksit, I have to read it. It was too powerful. You know, where he still found the allurement of mundane family life so strong that he had to be detached by the plan of the Lord. It's what's so powerful that is making me think is, how do we know that we are attached? You know, how do we know that we are attached to the allurement? Because, yeah, as you said, Kali Yuga is not getting any stronger, it's just getting worse. And at the same time is that not only is the allurement, but at the same time is how to come to that level. My God, I'm so attached to family life. I got to be detached from this. You know, like how to do it in a very healthy Krishna conscious way and not in a, what's the word, you know, in a fake way, you know, like the word is slipping my mind right now, but yeah,
Do it genuinely.
genuinely, and not false renunciation, you know, and be so oblivious and be all paka, you know, like how can we really get to that level and really recognize that? That was pretty deep. I mean, and I didn't know this part of it. I'm just hearing for the first time, actually. So that was very powerful for me.
There are a number of answers to this, how to be aware that family life, mundane family life is overtaking a person and it's very strong. How do you know? When we talked earlier about that, and that is when our spiritual activities are being overtaken because family life or the material responsibilities are so much that we cannot do the things that we want, you know, to do. One of them being the chant the holy name of the Lord, and to aspire, if you're not already there, to get to 16 rounds a day of chanting. Now, one of the things to be aware of is what Srila Prabhupada already has said. Talk to the mind. My dear mind, Kali Yuga is not getting any easier and it's going to get worse in the future. We have to get out of here. We got to be out of here. Srila Prabhupada has said, try to finish your business of Krishna consciousness this lifetime so you can go home. These are all things you can tell the mind. Material life keeps us bonded, entangled here in the material world. Spiritual life makes it possible for us to go back home. So material life, because we have a physical body, is only necessary in some areas to take care of the body. But spiritual life is more important. The importance is on spiritual life. Material life is just a necessity, and it's also temporary. So we should take our spiritual life so seriously that we earn the mercy of the Lord and finish this whole business and get out of this jail this lifetime. I must get out of this jail this lifetime. You can use that as an affirmation. The affirmation is just speaking constantly to the mind. I must get out of this jail. I must get out of this jail. Allurement of mundane family life. Everything that happens in family life is temporary. Do not let family members stop us from doing our transcendental or spiritual responsibilities. They don't know. They think that a life of sense gratification is the best. But even if you like sense gratification, you should speak to the mind. If I like sense gratification, I should speak to the mind and say, but that's only temporary and it's only going to give me another physical body, and who knows what that life is going to be. I don't want a future life where there's suffering, because there will be suffering. I will be sick again. Who knows what kind of disease this time. I'll go through inconveniences, whatever that has been developed here and is continued from research and other new, engineering achievements, all of that that's coming out. What happens is it doesn't solve the problem. It seems to solve one problem or make a little bit more convenient one thing, but then it starts another problem. Every time one thing seems to get solved, another thing starts. Those who have, the countries who have atomic bombs are scared of each other. They are even scared of man making a mistake and having that thing just go off at any time. Mistakes that could have the country detonate the bomb in its own place for a mistake. It's happened. It's happened in all the countries that have atomic bombs. They will not tell you, but it happened. In some cases they have said it. Mistakes can happen. So I thought they wanted atomic bombs in order to be strong, so the others would not bother them. Defense. But that defending thing can, in fact, cause havoc from a mistake. And they always have to worry about that. So that's the kind of world that we're in. Why come into it again? So the intelligence should take over and tell us, mind, please don't get involved in the material affairs, because poor countries, it's difficult to live there. Rich countries are in anxiety. And we shouldn't be the dead horse, because we all talked about this over and over and over again. You can't escape disease. And it's such a troublesome thing. We didn't even talk about old age, because not everybody is old at this point, but everybody understands disease. Get the old age, there's another thing on top of it, more pain. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. We have to get out of here. And Srila Prabhupada wants us to go. So he's made life, the requirements of material life, easier. Take advantage of it. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions? If not, then we thank you very much for coming so we can have discussion about Srimad Bhagavatam and learn from it and have our lives be improved from it. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sunibhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, dear devotees, for allowing me to do the service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare